Finger guns, finger guns, finger guns. Well, geez, I guess we'll make a video then. Hello everyone, my name is Jade, otherwise known as Scarlet Rebel. Hello, yes, it's my beautiful, beautiful face for the first time in a while. Bet you didn't think you'd see this until I reacted to the Witch Queen reveal, which is going to be next week on Tuesday. But I found myself with a little bit of extra time today, and I asked people on Twitter what they wanted to see me record since I had the energy to make something. And we're going to talk about the Witch Queen, we're going to talk about the DLC, we're going to talk about what my kind of predictions are, what my hopes are, what my thoughts are, and I am super excited, so we're just gonna jump straight in. So I figured the best way to do this would be to kind of take a look at everything that we've been given by Bungie, all the information that we have so far, and kind of talk about what I think that this means for the Witch Queen DLC, for the future of Destiny, based off of all of that. However, rather than do it from the first time we ever heard of the Witch Queen DLC and onwards, I figured it would actually be better to do it in reverse, because that way we're talking about the most recent information and the most exciting stuff, and we can just take it from there. So with that in mind, the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's something that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about. If you've been on Twitter, if you've been on, well, if you've been online, if you've been on Twitch, you probably will have seen that some streamers have received a music box from Bungie that has the art on the front of the, what we now know to be the Witch Queen DLC, that kind of hive-shaped rune that looks A, like the Destiny symbol, and B, like the shadows that are in the pyramid ship, which is super interesting. But yes, Miss 5000 Watts got one. There's a girl here who I have pulled up, her name is Miss Kenna. She received one as well. I think Granada Jake got one too. And basically what happens is when you open it up, it plays a song that's known as the Witch Queen's Lullaby, which, if you've been paying attention, is a song that is incredibly tied to Savathûn. It's a song that we heard all the way back in the Taken King DLC back in Destiny 1. It was actually the opening fanfare when you opened the game during the Taken King. We didn't really hear the song properly until Shadowkeep, but in between then there was a lot of talk about Savathûn's song. Obviously there was a Savathûn song, Strike on Titan, which is where the Hive were trying to call Savathûn to the system and to the planet. Then I believe in the Warmind DLC, which was one of the two DLCs that came out after Destiny 2, there was a adventure or a little mission where the Hive were also trying to use music to bring back Savathûn. Well, to bring Savathûn to them to help them out, because they were getting their asses kicked by us. And then during Shadowkeep, we had a interaction between Drifter and Eris. Actually, no, it wasn't Shadowkeep. It wasn't Shadowkeep. It was Season of the Dawn. That's what it was. During Season of the Dawn, during the Devil's Ruin quest, which I did make a video about way in my infancy. If you're interested in watching it, I'll leave a link in the description and up top. But yes, in the quest for the Devil's Ruin, you had to go onto the Twilight Gap Crucible map and scan dead Redjacks, the robots that Shaxx has that helps him get new Crucible areas and arenas. And Saint and Osiris would talk about Twilight Gap. They would talk about the past. They would talk about things of that nature. I thought it was a super, super cool quest. I really, really enjoyed it. But at the end, Shaxx comes in and is basically like, there's not supposed to be any Crucible matches here today. What are you doing? They all kind of talk for a little bit longer, and essentially Shaxx sings a song, because I think Saint makes him a deal or something, I can't remember, but Shaxx ends up singing a song that has that same note. People who do music are probably like, this is what it's called. It's a song that he sings that he says Eris was the one who told him about it, and it's really cute. I'll put a clip of it in here if I can find it.
I do so, but I ask them to sing me a song of their people.
No, I refuse.
Then you can pay me. A Titan is only as good as his word.
But I don't know any songs.
Make something up.
Oh, let me see. Eris hummed a few bars on the moon. How did it go? I'm on the moon. It's made of cheese.
So that was the next time that we actually heard the song. And I think I remember at the time a lot of people were talking about how, oh, that sounds like the Taken King song, but no one had really connected it to Savathûn, or maybe they had, I can't quite remember, it was a while ago now. And then the final season before Beyond Light was called Season of Arrivals, where all the pyramid ships came into the system and we lost Titan, Mercury, Mars and Io. And there was an exchange between Drifter and Eris about this song that Shaxx had sung. I can't remember if it was during the Contact public events or during the Prophecy Dungeon, but essentially they talked about how Drifter had overheard Shaxx singing this song, and Eris deduced that it was because the Ahamkara skull that he has above him was basically almost kind of infecting him. It's something that a lot of people made videos about when they heard it, and it kind of kickstarted this connection between Savathûn and this song. Savathûn, of course, made a little bit of an appearance during Season of Arrivals. Every time you tried to go to the Tree of Silver Wings on Io, the Taker would always try to interfere, and ever since Shadowkeep, I think it was Shadowkeep, I can't quite remember, it might have been Beyond Light actually, but basically we knew at that point that Savathûn was the one who was using the Taken because Oryx had fallen and she had basically taken them, as per the name. So that was when the connection was solidly made. During Season of Arrival, she tried to stop us from going to the tree and stop us from receiving messages from the darkness, which is a really interesting thing that happened, because why would Savathûn not want us to hear any messages from the darkness? Why would she want to interfere with that? But then again, as a god of the hive, her whole kind of thing is being a trickster. The hive have to feed worms inside of them in order to live, and in order to feed her worm, she has to create trickery. She has to trick people into things, and that's how her worm is fed and satiated. So basically anything that has Savathûn's claws all over it, you really do have to take a very close look at, because it might be going the way she wants it to, even if it doesn't look like it is, which I just love trickery characters like that a lot. So I'm so excited for this DLC. But anyway, back to her song. And then from what I can remember, if I've missed anything, please let me know down in the comments below. The next time we heard about her song was actually during the most recent season, Season of the Splicer. Savathûn was responsible for the endless night that happened over the city. It affected the people in it. There was no sunlight. It affected resources and lots of stuff like that. The Vanguard had to reach out to Misrax, a fallen splicer and head of the House of Light? Yes, House of Light. I should have known that. House of Light. Ikora and the Vanguard had to reach out to him to come and help us, because it was a Vex simulation and the Fallen Splicers know Vex technology very well. But this, of course, caused a lot of friction within the city walls, because the Fallen have attacked the city quite a few times. It created this really, really wonderful narrative throughout the entire season about accepting people who you've kind of been told are your enemy, and people who were once your enemy, and not judging a group of people who just need help and refuge based on what other members of that same race. I was really hesitant about using that word. But yeah, it's kickstarted a wonderful, wonderful narrative about those kinds of ideals about refugees and accepting people who just need help, and not judging a small group of people based on the majority or based on another group of people who are the same. That may be a very milquetoast way to describe it. I take full responsibility for that. I know that a lot of people have had their positives and their negatives about the way the narrative has been handled this season. With regards to those themes, I will just say that on the whole, I enjoyed it. There you go. Regardless, Lakshmi too, who was the who was the leader of the Future War Cult faction, was basically kind of the spearhead for making the city people afraid of the Fallen, aware of the Fallen, basically trying to push this idea of the Vanguard don't know what you want, they don't care what you want, they've let our enemies into the city, therefore the Vanguard are weak, therefore someone else should take over, etc, etc. There was a lot of interwoven narrative of the idea of a coup happening, or just the factions taking over the Vanguard's positions in peril, those kinds of things. Very, very good sort of political stuff going on in the background this season. And Savathûn's song was quoted by Lakshmi because she told The Guardian that the people were singing a song that again had that same tone. The bum, 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 bum. That's the kind of motif of it.
Have you heard the song of the people echoing through the city? Rise up as one, march toward the sun.
And we knew that Savathûn was behind the Endless Night anyway, and that she was using Quaria, the Taken Mind, I can't remember. Basically a giant Vex Hydra that had been taken by her. Quaria had been given to Savathûn a very, very long time ago by Oryx. We'd always kind of wondered when Quaria was going to pop up again. She's such a big character in the lore that a lot of people aren't really convinced that she's actually dead, which again, it's Savathûn we're dealing with, so that wouldn't be a stretch to me. So upon hearing Lakshmi sing that song and say, oh, this is a song that all the people in the city are singing in this great and perilous time, is concerning, and was concerning, and kind of showed that Savathûn had really, dare I say, infected the city. Which brings us to today, or a few days ago even, when streamers started to receive this music box. This music box that sings the same damn song and is apparently known as the Witch Queen's Lullaby. Miss Kenner on Twitter actually posted something about the staff notes for the music box being sent to her by someone called Mizanag's Burden, crediting someone on Reddit called the Lumenux, I think, which is the thing that confirmed that it's called the Witch Queen's Lullaby. So that's super, super exciting. The next thing to talk about, going backwards, would be, it's a very brief thing, but when the actual live stream was announced, they put that image up, like I said, of the Destiny logo, kind of looking like a hive rune. The tagline for Witch Queen, it would seem, is "Survive the Truth." I want to talk about that briefly just because, as I've mentioned plenty of times, Savathûn is a trickster god. Her whole thing is tricking people. She has to do it. She delights in doing it. So is surviving the truth of what might actually be going on behind a smokescreen? Is the truth something that Savathûn has created that we have to survive? Is it some kind of truth to do with what the Traveller actually is? Is it some kind of truth to do with what the darkness actually is, what the Hive actually are, what Savathûn actually is? Is the truth that, everything needs to be taken down to be rebuilt or something to that nature? I don't know, but it's got 1,000,001 connotations to it and 1,000,001 possibilities. I would personally infer that Survive the Truth is referring to a truth that is behind a smokescreen, because why would they have Savathûn try to stop the darkness from talking to us? The narrative in Beyond Light was all about using the darkness for good and as a gift, and the darkness, as far as like the being that calls himself the Winnower goes, has never necessarily asked us for anything, has never told us to do anything, has never said, okay, now you have my power, now you owe me, now you have to go out there and kill people. The Winnower in the Darkness definitely doesn't expect anything from us. From the Unveiling book that came out during Shadowkeep, which remains to be one of my absolute favourite lore books, because it's basically just letters to the Guardian from the Darkness. The Darkness talks about how it views us as majestic, how the Traveller just views us as pawns in a game, as soldiers in an army, and the Darkness doesn't see us that way. The title of Salvation comes up quite a bit. It comes up in that book. It comes up in, obviously, the Garden of Salvation. Drifter says it in regards to Gambit and in regards to using the darkness. Drifter's a whole nother story. But the point I'm making is that there's obviously something to the darkness, to the Winnower, to Stasis, that we don't know about, that would be disadvantageous of Savathûn to allow us to know. But also the darkness not being something that we can point and shoot at makes things very complicated. So we would have to be surviving the truth of the darkness is not just our enemy, it's something different, something more complicated, but also surviving Savathûn cutting us off from that truth. Does that make sense? And then going all the way back to, I guess, what I would consider the beginning of talking about Witch Queen would be the Destiny 2021 update, The Road to the Witch Queen, that came out on the 25th of February 2021, and yes, I am looking at it on my computer in front of me. I can't really think of anything in between this update and the date for the reveal live stream. Again, if there's anything that I've missed, feel more than free to pop it down in the comments below. And we will of course be talking about the armor that's in here, and also the little tease that happened that made people think that we were going to be going to Old Chicago. We'll talk about all of that in a second. So this is an incredible article. If for some reason you haven't read it and you're really excited about the future of Destiny or anything to do with Witch Queen, I would definitely recommend reading it. It is chock full of information. Obviously not spoilers or anything like that, but it talks a lot about what the plan for Destiny is going forward and the plan for Witch Queen in general. This was also the article that let us know that the Witch Queen was going to be delayed from the end of this year, because DLCs tend to come out September, October, November at the end of the year. It was being delayed to January of 2022. Actually, really quickly, want to find something. Haha, here we go. So, The Witch Queen, Lightfall, and beyond. Last summer we outlined our ambition for the next era in Destiny 2 by announcing the full arc, starting with Beyond Light, followed by The Witch Queen and Lightfall. As we began to scale production on The Witch Queen last year, we made the difficult but important decision to move its release to early 2022. We also realised we needed to add an additional unannounced chapter after Lightfall to fully complete our first saga of Destiny. This part's really important. It's something that I think about and talk about all the time. We've long thought about moving Destiny's annual release to the early half of the year, primarily for the health of the team, but The Witch Queen and not being tied to legacy expectations allowed us to make this choice early for 3 important reasons. And those reasons are listed below. We'll get into it in a second, but that thing right there about them extending it to January because it just suits the team better gives me a lot of hope for how big and how cool this DLC could be. I'm personally really hoping for something that's very similar to the Taken King. So if I was ever to do one of those like ranking things of all the DLCs in Destiny, which I think I have done, actually, now that I think about it, I think I just posted it on Twitter. Actually, no, I do remember I did make one. I made one specifically just to say Season of the Drifter wasn't that bad and you all need to shut up. But yes, in my mind, the Taken King and Forsaken are like on the same level of like S-tierness, of size and scale and everything you could do, and the ways that it changed the game and the way that it changed the narrative and the story and how much enjoyment I got out of it. I was hoping that Beyond Light would be like that too. It kind of was. Beyond Light was more like a, don't want to say a Rise of Iron, but it was more of a, not even a Shadowkeep. I don't know, I'd probably say that Beyond Light was like a little bit better than Rise of Iron and Shadowkeep. I'd put those together. So it would be like Rise of Iron and Shadowkeep down here, and then it'd be Beyond Light here, and then Taken King and Forsaken. Really? Are you kidding me? So Joe Blackburn, who's the one who wrote this article, goes on to say, "The Witch Queen represents an important evolution in the ongoing story of Destiny 2. Beyond Light built the foundation and allowed us to weave the world building of Destiny and Destiny 2 together, I agree. But the Witch Queen will light the fire on a strongly interconnected narrative across Lightfall and beyond, unlike anything we've ever attempted before, with characters, arcs, heroes and villains that persist over multiple future releases. Even more importantly, the conclusion of these releases will also conclude the Light and Darkness saga, the conflict we first introduced with the launch of Destiny many years ago." So that kind of lends further proof to the idea that I was saying before about how there could be something in the Witch Queen about how the darkness isn't necessarily what we thought it was, or the enemies that we have aren't necessarily what we think they are, kind of touching on like little seeds that were planted with the Fallen and the House of Light in Season of the Splicer. Of course, there is another season to come before the Witch Queen, so we'll see if they do anything more with that kind of narrative, but we've seen it already, we've seen the reaction to it, so it definitely could be something along the lines of, again, surviving the truth, kind of switching everything up. You know, he says lighting the fire and creating narrative arcs and stuff like that, so having this smoke screen of something that you need to survive, this kind of world-shattering revelation that would kickstart something else, is really important, and that is shown here to be the case, which is super exciting. And now we're on to the very last thing that I want to talk about, which is the images of the armor and also the kind of tease that we got for Witch Queen a little while ago. So at the end of this big article about the Witch Queen and everything that they had planned for the future of Destiny, well, kind of the first footsteps of the plans that they have for the future of Destiny, they teased the armor sets that we're going to be getting in Witch Queen. Again, this is something that a lot of people have done a lot of different videos on. There's a lot of different analysis of all the symbols on the armor. A lot of these symbols are alchemical symbols for Mercury and things like that. I don't want to go into too much detail because I will just sound incredibly dumb because I don't know what I'm talking about, but it is very cool to know that there is that kind of influence and those kinds of images being shown here. I'll leave some links to articles, descriptions, people talking about the images down in the description below. And then the very, very last thing to talk about is this image here, which was teased in this week at Bungie in June the 3rd, 2021. Again, lots of people have spoken about this before. Is this old Chicago? Tends to be the biggest thing. I feel like this is something I spoke about in my Beyond Live video as well, because we finally got to go to Europa after having that piece of concept art for the longest time. But again, for Destiny 1, there was a piece of concept art of old Chicago, which never ended up becoming a playable zone. So a lot of people think that this image of this Guardian, which definitely looks like it could be in a cutscene because it looks like the person is like stood there looking off at something, could be in Old Chicago, which means that Old Chicago could be the main place that we're going to in Witch Queen, or one of the main places that we're going to in Witch Queen. If Witch Queen is going to be something as big as the Taken King or Forsaken as I would like it to be, either Old Chicago is going to be huge, just like the Dreadnought was, or there's going to be some kind of like secret secondary location, like there was in Forsaken with the Dreaming City, because we thought we were just going to get the Tangled Shore. Do I think this is Old Chicago? I think it could be. There's no way to say for sure. I think it'll be really cool. I wouldn't necessarily be mad about it, like, either way. You know, they're building off of concepts that they wanted to back in Destiny 1 that they didn't get the chance to, whether it was, like, capital R reasons or something else. So guys, overall, those are my kind of speculations and thoughts for the Witch Queen. I do definitely think that the narrative is going to have something to do with a big truth or a big lie that we have to expose and deal with. I'm looking forward to potentially the beginnings of Old Chicago. I'm looking forward to a massive narrative shift. I'm looking forward to finally seeing Savathun in the flesh for the first time. If she even lets us get that far, she could trick all of us into something else. Leave your comments down below what you think is going to happen during the live stream next week, what your expectations are, what you're hoping for, whether it's PvE, PvP, things about raids, things about story, things about characters. Let me know, let's start a discussion about it. My name is Jade, otherwise known as Scarlet Rebel. You can follow me on all my socials, which will be down in the description, and a thing called a card, which is basically like an online business card. I would recommend following me on Twitter, because that's where I tend to rant and ramble and get excited about Destiny the most, and also talk about news and retweet news and things like that as well. I will of course be filming a reaction to the Witch Queen live stream, so look out for that sometime next week or the week before, and also keep an eye on the Planet Destiny channel, because we're going to be doing something incredibly exciting very soon, which I'm very excited for with the rest of my lore team. We've recently brought on Samlab, otherwise known as Smart. His video will definitely be live by the time this video is up. You should definitely go check it out. I'll leave a link for that down in the description, as well as the most recent one I did on the Planet Destiny website, which was about the history of the Vault of Glass. Anyway, I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy Destiny, enjoy the live stream, and take it easy and stay safe. Bye bye.